Yeah.
We're live. Perfect. So we've got Tatiana here today, who's one of the actors and writers who are part of the Working Theatre kind of group. And just a little bit of background. We met, when was the first time? It was 1931 reading, wasn't it?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Welcome, Tatiana. How's it going?
Good. It's going good. I'm excited.
Yeah. The first time we met was on, what's it called? The reading of 1931, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So,
super cool.
yeah.
And it was kind of my first, I had people were doing when they were starting to do like play readings through Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept watching a lot of them. And then the National Theatre, when they, like on Thursdays, they put up their, the plays in their library, I guess, of like what they film and record. And I was like, oh, I want to read a play. And then 2 days later, I got asked to do the reading with you guys. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
That was good. That was the start of something, wasn't it? Because then we had a just general chat about the play after. And then I guess this group was kind of born out of that, really.
Yeah.
It's always something that I've been meaning to do because I always write with different people. And then everybody was together and I was like, we should do this. Because everyone else, like, I've always wanted to do it, where they've been flaky. And it was good to find a group of actors and writers who are willing to kind of, put effort in and just kind of get together and do this properly, which is quite nice as well. So that was kind of how we all kind of came together, I guess. And obviously you studied with Michael at Adda. How did that go?
Yeah, that was really interesting. I feel like I hadn't really done anything like art school wise. And so it was kind of everything was fresh. And everyone, our group of like that year was so excited to be there. And just, it was like, I don't know, like first day of high school again, something like that. So it was exciting and like everyone wanted to be together and we were just all very open to learning something new.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's nice when you find like a group that you're like, especially when you have to work or study together, wherever. It's nice to find a group that just gets on and clicks, which sometimes is kind of rare to find.
Yeah.
So sorry, carry on.
And the thing I liked about that type of school, that it was like, there were no rules. The rules was that you had to say something. And I think that was the first time that kind of like, where the art shifted into like, everyone is an individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was the same with ours as well. It was just like, you were finally allowed to just express, which is something that you get taught as a kid and then you get taught not to do it during school, and you've got some rules and parameters you've got to follow kind of within.
Yeah.
But yeah, should we get onto the questionnaire that I told you about?
Yeah, let's do it.
You had a chance to read it, and it's something I stole from the Actors Studio. I'm sure you've watched it.
Cool.
And hopefully this won't be the last time you do this questionnaire. Hopefully it'll be on the Actors Studio next time.
Us too.
Exactly. And then be like, I've actually done this questionnaire before. I've got all the answers. So it came from Bernard Pivot, who wrote these questions, and then James Dixon kind of took them and used them at the Actors Studio show. So first question, what's your favorite word?
Favorite word? I was thinking about that. I don't know. I feel like maybe it would be like those buffer words, like apparently or like literally.
Okay.
Just because I find it funny.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good choice. What's your least favorite word?
Least favorite word? Like.
Like, as in.
Because I say it all the time.
Okay, yeah. That's a.
And when I went. Huh?
That's like a bridging word, though.
That too, but when I went to England, the house I stayed at, my mom's friend, he kept on making fun of me. He's like, "You're so LA. Everything's like."
It is true that it's kind of to say that a bit too much. So I get why you say the word for you. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
um, it's weird. I think it's constantly evolving. Like right now, it's paintings and like paintings about nature or like abstract.
Okay.
It takes like a lot of patience and like, so I guess I try and do like artistic things that I've never done to get a different perspective on like an acting um,
That's
exercise almost.
yeah, that works. That there's a lot of like great directors and actors in the past have been like use paintings and stuff in order to kind of inspire you to do stuff. Even with 1931 as well. Apparently
Yeah.
Strasbourg used certain paintings in order to kind of arrange people because there's a lot of people on stage at the same time in that play. Especially in the
Yeah.
so Strasbourg used certain paint. I don't know which paintings it was, but he used certain paintings in order to kind of find inspiration to like set people out and kind of arrange people to look good as well as
Yeah.
obviously functional for the play as well.
And also I think like being out and just like observing people and like how people fight too.
Yeah.
And like subtext and especially like what's going on in
Uh-huh.
America right now. You're just like, and then I kind of like read into it too much. I'm like, oh, that's childhood like trauma. That's not
Yeah.
like something right now.
We had this, we'll get onto that. We had this same conversation with Evan as well, which was quite funny. What turns you off?
um, um, a couple times while I was at Stella Adler, I was told that I didn't need to train, that I just need a manager. And I'm like, my brain automatically is like, I never want to see you again.
Who, a
Or
teacher
like,
said that or a student?
no, people who are actors that, because in LA, some people won't train,
Yeah.
which is cool, but
They generally don't last very long, do they?
yeah, and I'm just like, why
Again,
not?
again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my like
Yeah.
turn off for
Mhm.
sure.
What's your favorite? I've never heard you curse. What's your favorite curse word?
Curse word? I love saying fuck.
That same as Evan.
Yeah, I feel like it describes the moment precisely how I
Yeah.
feel.
And
But
then also,
I'll
sorry.
never tell someone like fuck off or like fuck you, but
Yeah.
I'll say it at something all the time.
And it comes from the stomach as well, doesn't it? It's like fuck, and it works.
Yeah,
What's your what sound or noise do you love?
love. I love the bubble wrap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that I when I was little, I used to step on it all the time,
That's
and
the
like
most annoying sound ever. What sound or noise do you hate?
the chewing sound.
That's pretty annoying.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I'm like, who raised you?
Anyways, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh wait, hold on.
You hear me?
No,
You hear me?
sorry. Can you repeat it again?
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Um, like I'm gonna say this, but it's not like I'm good at it.
No, it doesn't matter.
Um,
It's just fantasy.
like an at-home chef,
Okay,
or like like a small number of people, like 4 people.
that'd be quite cool.
Yeah,
Rather than having to have the pressure of like cooking at a restaurant and just like the turnover.
yeah,
I guess you get to enjoy
yeah,
it.
but not baking. I'm
Oh,
not good at
yeah,
that.
fuck cooking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like the easy stuff.
What profession? Oh, where's it gone? What profession would you? Yeah, what profession would you not like to do?
No. Hmm, probably like teach at a school.
Really?
Maybe. I mean, I feel like I don't know. Like I get stressed out a lot.
Okay.
I'm like,
Kids.
do you get what I'm trying to teach you?
Yeah, kids are not a good idea. They get stressed out a lot. They will stress you out, especially high school kids. They're like the worst.
Yeah, I'd probably cuss them out.
Yeah.
Sit your ass down.
And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, it keeps cutting out, but
Are you,
now
are
I
you
can hear you.
using Instagram audio or Zoom audio?
Instagram. Should I
Ah,
switch it?
just take your headphones out and then it'll just still play through them, but that means it won't play out your loudspeaker on your phone.
Oh, okay.
Use Instagram. Use Zoom audio.
Got it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, now it's echoing.
Yeah, I don't know why. Sorry, hold on. Let me try and fix it.
Is the audio still coming out your phone?
It's,
Oh, it's gone now.
sorry, I had to. Yeah, I don't know why. It won't. Oh, is it because the headphones are in?
Oh, is the volume coming out of the headphones, right?
Yeah, it's.
Put the volume right down on the headphones, and then just put them aside somewhere so it doesn't come out.
Okay. Oh, it's because when I take them out, they disconnect.
Ah, they're smart, but that's quite annoying at the same time.
Yeah, it's smart. Sorry.
Okay, working out?
Yeah. Yeah. Still echoing.
Working out?
I think so. Yeah.
Perfect. That's good. That's
I don't know why. No, it's
not.
not. I don't know why. Okay, maybe now.
All good. Hello.
Yeah, there we
That's a
go.
lot better. Amazing. Okay. So the final question: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Um, maybe like everything turned out the way it was supposed to turn out.
Ah, amazing.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, and like a big hug
Yeah. then you
for
know,
like 10 minutes.
then you know you've done well. And then moving on. So where did it? Let's go kind of personal background and your history
Yeah.
within the arts. When did you know you wanted to do what you do now?
Um, I feel like I always liked it as a kid,
Uh-huh.
or the concept of watching TV. I loved it. When I was little, I had a TV in my room, and I got in trouble because I would turn it on in the middle of the night and just watch it until really late. And so my parents took it out, and then when I turned like a couple of years ago, like 19, they gave me a TV for my birthday, and it was like the best gift ever, and I adore it.
You got it back then. Years
Yeah,
later.
and I tell them that if there's ever a fire, the first thing I would take is my TV. So they laugh.
Oh my gosh, you watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
So based on that, you were like, do you know what? I watch it. I might as well be on it.
Yeah, and I really liked like drawing the cartoon, so that was maybe like the first
Ah,
sort of thing.
yeah,
And then as I got older, I realized like that's a job and that's something you can do and like you love. Like you can love that and then you can get paid for that
yeah,
and just do that
uh-huh.
and like have a house or whatever.
Yeah. Ah,
Um, so yeah, I feel like that was the beginning of and like kind of understanding why people put up certain things, like
uh-huh.
for what reason, you know?
Mhm. And was it always something you wanted to do, or did you ever change it? Like, do you know what? I might do this, I might do that. Was there anything else that kind of crossed your mind?
No, and it always sort of surrounded plays or films. Like if I wouldn't have acted, maybe I'd be like a cinematographer or just like worked in background, which I like too.
Yeah. And growing up in LA as well, does that play a part in kind of, I guess, did that,
Yeah.
yeah, did that play a part at all?
Um, I feel like it makes it more possible because you see people and you like hear a friend of a friend was on a movie or like whatever, and
Uh-huh.
you're like, okay, it's not that far of a dream.
Yeah.
20 minutes away, people are like filming stuff. So
Exactly. Yeah. Just down the road, they're actually doing it.
yeah.
And I
So
think,
and my dad was a journalist, and I always got brought around, and it kind of like was like something that like I it never got treated like, oh, it's just a stupid little dream.
mhm. Ah, that's good. Yeah.
They kind of like we're like, okay, we'll like try it.
Mhm. Do
And
any of your siblings do the same?
no, I have a sister. She's studying to be a nurse, so
Ah.
she likes surgeries and blood and stuff like that. Yeah, we're all sort of different, but yeah. And I grew up watching a lot of like war movies and like foreign films and yeah,
Ah, yeah.
kind of like a little bit, it started thinking started.
Uh-huh. And then you obviously went to Adler to study. Why
Yeah.
did you go to Adler and why didn't you go to like a good school like Strasbourg?
Oh my God. I messed up. I messed up so bad.
We had the same discussion with Michael. It's like, why did you choose Adler? Because I remember before Michael went, we met before, like we became friends just before Michael went over, and he was kind of umming and ahhing about what school to go to, and he was like, "Oh my God, Adler." I was like, "Go to Strasbourg," and then he still went Adler, obviously.
Yeah.
But anyways, how was it? Yeah, what made you choose Adler of all schools, and how was that experience for you?
Yeah. Well, I was taking um, like workshop classes in Hollywood, but it was like once a week. And then my dad's friend, who's also an actor, but from Colombia, mentioned this school because they had a summer workshop, like full time.
Yeah.
So I tried it out, and then at the end of, and that was at Stella Adler. But I kind of just went on like a whim because I wanted to do something for the summer.
Uh huh.
And I really like it's like a good like test to see if you would want to do a conservatory.
Uh huh.
Um, and I liked it. And then they're like, "Oh, we're auditioning people for the 2 year conservatory," and I didn't think I was gonna get in because all the people that were in the class had like a MFA in theater and film, and
Oh wow.
I'm not like oh audition, but I didn't think so. And then I got in.
Mhm. And how was the kind of experience at the school in terms of what you learned, and how you developed as an actor and as an artist over the course of the 2 years? It was yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think you go in with an open mind, but you think like, oh, I know generally what I'm supposed to do, but you don't. And I kind of like that because they're kind of like you're here to learn, like that's it.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think you have to go with an open heart. I started like I felt very closed off when I started. It was so hard for me. But then it's like it forces you to look at your own shit, which helps you as an actor. And then as a human, you're just like, oh, like, what am I tripping about? Like, this is just a part of life. And then you read these old plays that are like, not that old, from like the 60s, 70s, but you're like, they're going through the same thing. Like, this is just like emotions of what humans go through, but it's being expressed. And I feel like, I mean, I would say Stella Adler, even if I didn't go to do acting anymore, it helped me develop as like a more secure person, and like and have boundaries and identify like what are the things I really don't like and what I really do enjoy.
Yeah. No, I think it's something, as you said, even if you don't go into acting, I think it's just such a tool to develop as a human being, as a person. And it's almost like, well, it's not free therapy, but it's therapy.
Yeah, it really is. And
Really
I,
your own mind, and you, a lot of the time you go experience stuff in life. And I think what most people do is they tend to put a lid on it and just shove it in the back of their brain and never visit it again. Whereas if you, that happens to you and then you go to Strasbourg or Adler, then you
yeah,
lift those lids and we live those experiences, and it kind of teaches you visit those situations and circumstances and events that took place with a wiser mind. And I think that's key to kind of developing and attaching the right meaning to something that you've been avoiding for so long sometimes.
yeah,
And that makes a massive change, I think, to you as a person as well.
yeah. And I think, I mean, it's hard to open that door of like all your wounds.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like I was nervous all the time because I knew, and there'd be classes where I'd stand up there and mostly like movement type classes where you don't necessarily have a scene, you just have to like portray things with your body. And I would get so nervous for those because it was just, it wasn't a character, it wasn't a thing I had to do, it was just they were looking at
It's just,
me.
yeah.
And you can hide so easily in life
Uh-huh.
and play things off and like be confident. And like I think it's one thing to be physically confident and another thing to be emotionally confident.
And do you think Strasbourg, Adler, sorry, gave you both?
You're like
So,
yeah, I think it does it in a way where it tests you a lot.
yeah.
And it, and you know when you're like, oh, I didn't give it my best, but it's like, why? And then you read the play over again, you're like, oh, it's because this happened to me and it's too real.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
did you do much emotional? Because Strasbourg and Adler are similar in so many ways, but then there's obviously loads of things that are different. Did you guys do emotional and a sense memory with Adler?
um so the cool thing about the school in LA is they would do like a tiny bit of like exercises.
Yeah.
So we did do the emotional, the kinetic.
You guys call it other, yeah. You guys have different
Yeah,
names.
it might be a different name, but it's like it's the emotional part of it and what happens before the scene starts. Um, which that's like a big impact
Yeah.
because they don't necessarily talk about the emotional side, but it is their subtext, I guess.
You guys do a lot of imagination stuff as well, don't you?
Yeah, and I think that really helped character wise. And
Mhm.
like maybe your character doesn't say that, but what do they do when they're at home or when they're laying down, and building that helps.
For sure, yeah, it does, yeah. And in terms of kind of those exercises, how did that develop you as an actor? So if you got a role and you're like, you need to do X, Y, and Z exercise, are there any particular exercises you did that you're like, they really take you to the next level apart from what you've just mentioned?
um I think movement was like number one, in especially doing a play. um I sometimes would just do like I'm forgetting all the vocab, but the walk through the space
Yeah.
in the scene with your partner, and like you both will start the scene when you think it's ready.
Yes. Yeah.
But then it's like you're in that space with them and you're connected to them. So it sort of shifts the scene into a more realistic perspective.
Amazing. Yeah, we did something similar to it as well, where you share the space with the person. One person's there first, and then you kind of live in that space before the event of the scene takes place, essentially.
Yeah.
You connect to the space and all that side of stuff as well. So that's quite cool. And then what do you feel how important is what we do to society?
I feel like I used to compare it. Like I used to compare it to maybe a doctor or, and you can't. Art isn't the same, I think, as like science or law, but I think it all is connected. So I think for the person who is going through a rough time, and especially now in quarantine and whatnot, I think it is important to learn how to express yourself. And now I learned, like, wow, we don't really get taught how to express ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, some people don't go to therapy, but they do certain types of, therapies and painting and drawing and writing and whatnot. So it's important, and like in a subconscious sort of way, and emotional, to like, because some things don't work for certain people.
No.
So I think it's an important in that way. But I do think maybe 20 years ago, the conversation was different. Like now things are being written about like personal experience, but it's maybe a little bit traumatic, but it needs to be an open conversation.
Yeah. And I think even just touching upon what you said about art right now, like, how we're not really taught to express and stuff, and how so many people have taken up art during quarantine. And also, I think the whole world essentially has gone to art for comfort, like to watch Netflix, to watch movies, to listen to music and stuff. And we've been doing that a lot more, we have, since quarantine. And I think it's something we turn to when we just need something to connect with. It gives us a sense of relief. It gives us a sense of comfort, I think, as well, in being able to connect to somebody for 2-3 hours during a movie, or songwriters and singers and stuff do it in 5 minutes, where they kind of really connect you, and that's kind of what we've turned to, I guess, during quarantine as well.
Yeah, and I think the platforms are catching up.
Yeah.
As well. I think it's called All American. It's a play first, but Kerry Washington did they filmed, like they build a set and then they film, because the play is in one location, so they filmed the movie around the whole thing, which I think is like, if that's like the next thing, that is so cool.
What is it? All American?
All American with Kerry Washington, and it's on Netflix.
Okay. I'll put it on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's
American
another American Son. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll check it out.
Amazing. And then I also think it's cool that some conversations people won't understand, but they sort of make it so it's not about like one race or like one type. It's a situation that maybe everyone should know about, even if it may never happen to them.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the most powerful form of art, when the themes are so universal that everybody can connect them and they apply to everyone, as opposed to just kind of a small group of people.
Yeah.
Now, the next question kind of links to what we just spoke about now, in terms of kind of creating art that's universal, and ethnicity comes into our art, I think, in terms of casting and stereotyping on TV and being put in a box, essentially. How have you felt your ethnicity has kind of affected your experience within the industry so far? Because your background is Colombian, right?
Yeah, and I also think Colombian has a stereotype,
Yeah.
like cocaine and drug lords. I
Yeah.
hate all of that. Not that the story's good, you know. The story's like drama filled, and there's a climax, and it's
Yeah.
exciting because it's like money and women and
What did you make of Narcos?
whatnot. I think it was cool.
Uh-huh.
Artistically, the guy who played Pablo Escobar and him being Brazilian, like I think artistically and then like in society, like me, I'm two different people. Society wise, I'm like, it should have been a Colombian, the accent's not right.
Was his accent not right?
Well, you could tell he just wasn't Colombian.
Ah, okay. A Colombian would know that, but everyone else wouldn't.
Yeah. But then as an artist, if you ask me to play someone from, I don't know, like Puerto Rico or like the Dominican, I would take it as an artist. I honestly would because it's about your experience,
Uh-huh.
like you trying to form yourself to do a different type of art or mold. Um, but I get it. But I think it was cool. It's just I don't think it's something I watch either a lot.
Mhm.
But I did a one woman show about the first person who brought cocaine to the U.S. It was
Ah.
a woman, and they called her the Black Widow because she invented the motorcycle drive-by. But I was so stubborn. I didn't want to do it.
Mhm.
Um, I think because Stella Adler was so like it was up to you what you did. You just had to say something.
Mhm.
I didn't want to put myself in that box of Hispanic. And I
Right.
was sort of angry about it because I was in school. I wasn't being casted necessarily yet.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, I don't have to do it. Like I can play whoever I want. Like I don't look that Hispanic.
Yeah.
But it made sense because that's your background. You know what it is like to to be part of that culture.
Mhm. But I get the same thing in terms of being Muslim and the whole terrorism thing going on and stuff as
Yeah.
well. Would you feel more comfortable personally? I think if there was more stuff, because the thing is, things like drugs and terrorism and stuff need to be spoken about and it needs to be expressed through art.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what art is there to do. It's there to kind of, it's there as a mirror to society to say this is what's going on. We need to watch it subjectively, and we need to kind of progress as humans. But my problem is, and I don't know if you, I'm sure you agree, is that if you're going to show that, then show regular Colombian people, show regular Muslims having normal lives and normal jobs. Have a balance, because what happens is if all they show on TV is Narcos and they show Homeland 24/7, and that's the only depiction that we get as our people get, then that's the problem. Because the only time, if there's somebody who hasn't met a Colombian before, or who hasn't met a Muslim before, or an Asian before, whatever, they're just going to think, the first thing that's going to come to their mind is, "Hi, I'm Colombian." Oh, first thing comes cocaine. Oh, I'm Muslim. Oh, first thing terrorist. So that's the problem it kind of creates, I think.
Yeah, like in high school, I got made fun of for that.
And it's horrible. And it's just like
It's
kids.
like, yeah, I'm like, you can't point to Colombia on a map to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
One time someone was like, "Oh, you're Cuban." I was like, "No, I'm Colombian." They're like, "Same thing." I'm like, "No, no, not at all." But okay, like I don't care. It's not my fault.
Where do you think the solution lies in this problem of you know they call it stereotypical, but I mean it's
I
to
think
make something, to depict an entire group of people one way all the time is not a stereotype, it is racism.
yeah, it's generalization.
Yeah,
It's so much easier to generalize than to give an example of when and where or who.
yeah.
To me personally, I never really got offended when they did it to me. Maybe how I was raised, it wasn't. to me, that's lack of education.
Yeah.
But
But
that's,
now we're in a position to educate. What should
yeah,
we do as artists now to kind of move this forward, and where would you like to kind of see it go? And yeah.
I think I would show more of the culture
Mhm.
in like maybe Colombian culture in the United States, or Filipino culture in the United States, or in England, or in different countries, because it's different when you watch a movie that's in Mexico about Mexicans,
Yeah.
because you can't relate because maybe they've never gone to Mexico.
Mhm.
So I think maybe I would, like, I like what you say of like educating, like how that type of, or that type of ethnicity is.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, because when I did the one woman show, I didn't want to talk about drugs, because to me, being a drug lord, the point wasn't about drugs. The point was about being successful, because
Yeah.
the majority of them were in poverty.
Mhm.
And like, what does that do to someone? Like, it isn't about the money.
No, it's about getting out of poverty, and
Yeah.
you've got to be at a position, at a point in life, right, where you're like, you know what, even if I get locked up, my life's going to be better than now. I'd rather take that risk to get out of poverty. And that's kind of what it comes down to. And even when you're playing a bad character, be it in a play or a film or TV, whatever, I think every bad person or a bad character
Mm.
comes from a place, a positive place, that they're trying to do something good.
Yeah.
Like crazy, that's a different matter. But generally speaking, like for example, when what's his name, Wagner, the guy who did Wagner Mora, the guy who did Pablo Escobar, he never looked at it and was like, I'm going to be a horrible person. He looked at it and was like, this is a guy who lives in poverty. His country needs help, and he wants to help. Therefore, he's going to do
Yeah.
this in order for him to get out. And then obviously the whole politics situation happened, and
Yeah.
went out of hand after that. But yeah, that's kind of yeah.
Yeah, and I think it comes from a place of like how great it feels to gain things,
Mm.
like no matter what it is.
Yeah,
And
'cause you
it,
haven't
to
had it.
me,
Like, yeah,
my point was like, it's the American dream,
yeah,
and people come to America, or whichever other country, to do that, to do something better. Like, they thought their life was planned out, and yet they get this small opportunity. Like, if it was me, I would take it,
yeah,
not knowing what's on the other side either.
yeah. Absolutely, it's a risk you take, but you go over with, as you said, the American dream to better yourself and create a better life for your family, etc., etc. And how do you feel in terms of representation? Because obviously
Yeah.
your background's Colombian, you live in America, you grew up in America. Now, do you feel with a lot of minorities, even in this country, I feel it to a certain degree as well. Do you feel kind of left out that, as you said, Mexican TV is about Mexican people, or
Yeah.
Colombian TV is about Colombian people? Do you find that people in our position where we kind of are in the middle of the two feel underrepresented in the sense that there's nobody telling our stories as, you know, people who've got a background from a particular country but live in a different country? And you're kind of shunned by both sides in a way.
Yeah, because I'm I'm not Colombian per se, because I wasn't born there, but I also, in America, I don't feel only American.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, I do think there's possibility to represent way more, but I think maybe representation in a different way, of like, maybe if we are talking about Hispanics, put Hispanics in like different situations, although they are Hispanic.
Yeah.
It's almost each, I think, ethnicity takes on certain situations differently.
Mhm.
So to me, it would be more about that. And culture, I feel that maybe in certain parts of America, they don't know about different cultures. Like, for example, like being from LA, I don't know too much about the Indian culture,
Uh-huh.
or, like Middle Eastern or Arabs. Like, and I'm sort of embarrassed to ask too.
Yeah.
I don't know what's the line, because I don't know, as a, like, I feel that being Hispanic as well.
Mhm.
Uh, but when, like, if you come to LA, it's like a mesh of so many different people and different types. And you're like, it's having different cultures around you is a plus.
Mhm.
You get to eat different foods. Like, there's different styles. I think we can all adapt. There is like cultural appropriation. Like, there is a line, I think,
Yeah.
you know?
Uh,
But I think there is an opportunity too. And I don't think we have to be embarrassed either. For a long time, I was embarrassed to do the like poor, like Hispanic girl who's pregnant.
uh,
I hated that. It just like made me so mad because there was people around me where that happened to, but the stereotype was so like simple and like plain.
it is. It's stereotypes are generalizations that are done based on a few like stats they've picked out of
Yeah,
a book of stats. Like, right, we're just going to
yeah,
go with that.
just
And it's oversimplifying something. And it's just like, it's not like, all right, cool. If you want to talk about that, you know, a poor Latin American girl who's pregnant, talk about the social economic situation she's in and how she's got there. And let's progress from there rather than just be like, oh, she's that person and that's
yeah,
it. And just simplifying it and almost nullifying her struggle. Because
yeah,
if you really care about that person, if you really want to represent them, you then give them enough of a story for them to be like, people watching be like, oh, we care about her, rather than, oh, that's that Hispanic girl who's whatever.
yeah. And also there's a lot of strength in women who have kids as a teenager and
Of
you
course.
know continue the path that they were still on, um, career wise or relationship wise.
Mhm.
They don't all end up like staying poor.
Exactly. Of course. There's so many women that have kind of used that as you said, a source of inspiration to fight harder for
Yeah,
what they want and what they need, and they end up getting it as well. And that gets talked about very little, I guess.
yeah. And I think it is important to like also let everyone know that it is a conversation or kind of like in the show Modern Family.
Yeah.
um I forget her name in the show, but Sofia Vergara, like
Yeah.
she's a mock of what Colombians are like, or
Yeah.
women, right? And for example, my mom doesn't like that show because of that, because she's like, that's not what Colombian women are. But that's like, no, that's obviously that's a stereotype, and you can see it in the show.
It's a caricature they make of it, and
Yeah,
it's like, come on, we can do better than that. Like, that's not, and I think it's it's toxic for society as well, because then people go around with that point of view.
yeah.
They're
And
misinforming and missing.
comedy wise, I think it's okay to me, because there are certain funny parts that are very real and very,
Yeah,
but it isn't like a every movie, every show kind of thing.
yeah. But then I think, yeah, touching upon what we said before, I think if they're going to do that, then they need to kind of balance it a little bit and show
Yeah,
both sides as opposed to just like one thing. Because if you keep on showing Sophie Vergara, it's funny, and it's the same with shows here as well. South Asian people, like they're always the funny guy or like whatever, and then all of a sudden everybody just thinks like I grew up, and people are like, "You're meant to be funny," and I'm like, "No." Because that's what you are on TV. And I was just like, this is not.
that's,
Like, I am still funny, but that's not the point.
you're all doing stand-up comedy.
What was that?
I said you're all doing stand-up comedy.
Exactly, yeah. So I was just like, yeah, it can kind of have a detrimental effect, I think, on people when that's kind of not forced upon them, but when people look at you and be like, oh, you're not meant to be like that. And it's just
Yeah.
like, no, not really. And then we'll move on swiftly. So, what's your sources of inspiration for creating stuff? I know we spoke about what projects you want to write next. Um, what inspires you as an actress, and what inspires you as a writer to do what you do and do the work you do?
Um, hmm. I think as an actor, it would be more character, and things that I want to touch on that maybe I wouldn't normally get casted as. Um, kind of, kind of like Meryl. She does all sorts of characters and
Yeah.
things, different things. And I think when you read plays, a lot of the male roles are very exciting to women. Um, it's and I mean, I don't want to generalize women, but me, when I was in school and I read certain plays and like the male roles, I was like, oh, I've definitely done that before.
Yeah.
It's like I'd want to do that. I want to like beat someone up and like tell them what's up. And um, but as a writer, I think um, it's more about maybe I get inspired by the news a lot, and I'm just like, and what people believe, and like the whole corona, the news is so scary to watch.
American news is like watching a movie.
Or yeah, American. I don't know about in the UK, but
It's bad, but it's not. I think American news just take it to another level.
yeah, and I saw a TikTok the other day, and they're making fun of Univision, which is the Hispanic channel, and they're like, 99.9% have died of COVID, so there's a chance you're gonna die of COVID, but it's only been hitting Hispanics, and like it's a joke, it's a going joke that they just scare you
Yeah.
and get anxiety, and you. I'm like, that's not healthy. So I think people's more like reaction to situations like this or fights or certain, more negative um, like incidents, I'm like, oh, that's something that as humans we need to work on.
Mhm. And then in terms of kind of when you do watch the news, what particular stories apart from what you've just mentioned, are there any other stories that you're like, that's something I want to touch upon?
Um, like a lot of miscommunications, like the whole Will Smith and Jada thing of like,
I heard about it, but I never really looked into it. I was just like,
um, what did she say? Oh, what's the word? Entanglement. I got into entanglement of like, oh my god, the lack of communication and maybe understanding from the other person.
mhm.
Like that's a situation, but that definitely happens to so many people.
Yeah.
Uh, so I kind of get inspired by maybe like negative things and how people handle them.
And what would you do to them in terms of kind of creating them into art? Would you make turn them into comedy or delve into it in a serious manner?
I usually go serious,
Uh-huh.
um, but I think comedy is also another thing that I would like to try.
Mhm.
Because I do think it's funny. If you're looking as an outsider, you're like, why would you say that?
Yeah.
That's subtext. Like, say what you really want to say,
Uh-huh.
but we don't.
Yeah,
Or it's scared or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So that's. I think humans are the biggest inspiration
Yeah.
of how we act with others.
Do you find like having gone to drama school and you do the whole text analysis thing and you know,
Oh yeah.
do you ever apply that in life a bit too much?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always like, why did you say that?
Yeah.
Like I triggered you. Why? Like what was the word that I said?
Childhood.
Yeah. You're like, did you date someone who cheated or lied to you a lot? But I can't be analyzing everyone. I'm gonna get in trouble.
It happens though, don't it? As actors, I think we even like messages and stuff, like we analyze text, and that is literally our job, to analyze text, read subtext, and then envision everything. And
Yeah.
it's scary to do it in day-to-day life. I think it's horrible that we get taught this for years in drama school, and then you get into life and you're like, I should not be applying this to life right now.
And and after I graduated, I remember when I would have like fights with my parents and my sister, and they'd all be talking, and we all talk a lot. And at one time I was like, you guys are just talking to talk. You're not even listening. There's no point of this conversation.
That's such an acting teacher thing to
Yeah, the most actor thing. I was like, wow, like I really got educated.
say. That is the most actor thing ever.
Like, wow, you're so egotistical. You just want to talk to talk. Like this conversation is done because you're not really trying to do anything. Um, and yeah, and listening is such a important thing that it's like it's a tool that we need.
We do. I think you're 100% right there. A lot of people do listen. They listen to respond, not to understand.
Yeah, completely.
And it's just like, what the hell are you doing? And then I was guilty of doing similar things as well when I came out of drama school. And I've calmed down a little bit now, but like you read into situations, you then start to like work people out. And then even in movement class as well, like the way you stand, the way you do this, the way you do that, the way you move, like certain points of tension, it means certain things. And I would do that and I'd offend people. And I'm not offended. I don't mean to offend you. I'm just like pointing something out slightly. But I think it's just a hazard to kind of do that in life.
It definitely made me more outspoken. Like Saldra, I feel like built the backbone of art into me.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody can come and tell me. I'm like like I trained, but not in like egotistical, but just like I worked on it though. You know, like your tips or whatever you're trying to tell me can be very valid, but it's perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know. I think it helped me. I don't know if I've crossed any lines, but I definitely have stood in what I believe a little bit more.
I think you do. But yeah, you come out a lot stronger and you come out a lot more. I don't know if secure is the right word, but just securing what you feel and what you do.
Yeah.
What you stand for as well. I think that's one thing you take away from drama school, and they give you the confidence to do it as well. I think so much confidence.
And it made me realize, it's gonna sound a little mean, but a lot of people have like limited mindset.
Yes.
Like, why can't you?
Mm.
It's more you that you're telling yourself I can't than the people on the outside.
Yeah.
So it's like, I had someone tell me like, your mindset is very limited, and I was like, I woke up and I'm like, no, like, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
People are writing movies like Sharknado. I can definitely do it, you know. You know, some people may like that movie and that's cool, but it's a movie about sharks. Like anything is possible.
Exactly. It's true, and then that moves us on to the final question, which it fits in perfectly. Now, what does it mean to be an artist, and how do you kind of go about day-to-day life? So if a lot of people look at actors and they're like, how do they do it? Because there was this quote that I read to Evan, and we kind of discussed it. It touches upon what we're just speaking about now. It's by David Acker. He did it in. He was a journalist for the LA Times, and he wrote this thing, and it kind of touches upon what we're about to speak about now. The question is how. What does it mean to be an artist, like in this day and age? And I just want to quote something, and we're kind of discussing it a bit. So actors are some of the most driven, courageous people on the face of the earth. They deal with more day-to-day rejection in 1 year than most people do in a lifetime. Every day actors face the financial challenge of living a freelance lifestyle, the disrespect of people who think they should get real jobs, and their own fear that they will never work again. Every day, they have to ignore the possibility that the vision to which they have dedicated their lives is a pipe dream. With every year passing, many of them watch as other people their age achieve the predictable milestones of a normal life: the car, the family, the house, the nest egg. But they stay true to their dream in spite of sacrifices. Why? Because actors are willing to give their entire lives to a moment, to that line, that laugh, the gesture, all that interpretation that will stir the audience's soul. Actors are beings who have tasted life's nectar in the crystal moment when they poured out their creative spirit and touched another heart. In that instant, they were as close to magic, God, and perfection as anyone could ever be. And in their own hearts, they know that to dedicate oneself to that moment is worth 1,000 lifetimes.
Yeah.
Off
Yeah,
that,
that's great.
yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe spiritually speaking, if you believe in God or whatever you believe in, I think each person has something to say and do on earth, but it's I think everyone has a certain vessel they express it through.
Yeah.
Like the art of being a surgeon. Like that's amazing, like knowing every part of the human body and whatnot. But I think maybe artists and actors have a different vessel of like it hits like a different part of human beings, whether you hate it or you really love it. And writers and all type of art. I think we do impact, and sometimes we're not careful of what we say because it's like you just want to flush it out and you just want to make art, but it's more like having something to say instead of just being seen.
Yeah.
Um,
And then how do you balance being an artist with everyday challenges? A lot of freelancers, and this is one thing I think scares a lot of people. Having spoken to people about this, and people who've dropped off, especially the ones that I studied with, and then they do it for a few years and they're like, oh, I'm just going to get a proper job. How do you kind of balance being an artist with everyday life? People telling you should get real jobs, working again, and as time passes by, watching people achieve, the predictable milestones and stuff of a normal life. How do you kind of balance it and say to yourself that this is still the right decision?
yeah, I think your reasons why you do acting or why you do art has to be strong enough for you. Like in high school, horrible student.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do it. And my parents, when I graduated, they were so impressed. They're like, you graduated, like you did it. Like we didn't think you were gonna make it. In the nicest way possible, But it's kind of like the way that I am just blends well with acting and art and writing.
Yeah.
And if it was easy, I don't think we would do it. And the rejection, it's just like then that's more power to like standing in your truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think there's a lot of tools to live the life that you want to live. There's like the speaker Joe Dispenza. He keeps talking about how you have to claim your future and you have to claim what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And be okay with who you are.
Yeah.
And so I think that's also a part of life, and maybe that's something that people who work 9 to 5s may ignore.
Yeah.
Because like right now I'm working a 9 to 5 office job, and you can get so lost in that and not make time for what you really like. And I understand like getting lost and wanting to leave acting just because it's easier. It is easier because to be an actor you have to put a lot of effort and you don't know your outcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think to me it depends a lot on what you want to say to the world.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that would be like the focus point.
Yeah, you're right. I think if you've got a strong enough motive to do it, if you've got a strong enough reason in your mind that this is what I want to do, and I think if it's strong enough, then I don't think anything can get in the way. I don't think anything matters. What people say, or the freelance lifestyle that we live, and a certain level of, I think, disrespect goes towards artists that are struggling. Because one thing that annoys me is we consume so much art, but then and we champion, actors and writers and singers, and we're like, oh, they're amazing and this, that, the other. But yeah, when we see one in our lives, we're not ones to be like, oh, let's actually support that person.
Yeah.
Rather, we just be like, oh, do this, do that, get a proper job and that kind of thing. So I think,
Yeah.
as long as we've got a strong enough reason, I think it's enough to kind of continue to go on.
Yeah. And also maybe you said, how do you balance? I try and put like my artistic like tendencies or skills into my everyday life.
Yeah.
Like bring art into everything that I do, because then life is kind of boring. You know, it's almost it's your perspective on life. Like I want to be on earth and like love life and love everything about it, and like from like getting up to like getting coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start enjoying stuff, and I think more opportunities open up for you the more you're like that.
Well, you're right. You're 100% right. I think you should incorporate, because you can incorporate art into every bit of your life. I think everybody's an artist,
Yeah,
and as writers as well. Everybody tells stories on a daily basis. When
yeah,
someone says, "How are you? How's your day? How's your weekend? How's your holiday?" The person replying is telling a story.
yeah,
And we do it in a different way. We write scripts or whatever.
yeah,
But everybody, I think, is a writer. And even with acting as well, I think everybody acts on a day-to-day basis. How many times have we gone in and our boss is like, how's it going? Whatever, and you hate their guts and you have to just stand there and like make conversation with people like that. So
yeah,
you're right. I think that's dead important to keep doing that and just kind of keep creating art within your own life, and that'll stop you from getting rusty and, you know,
yeah.
falling out of love with it, I guess.
Yeah, and because maybe it's something that you want to do for you and not for, I mean, money's great, but you know, it isn't the end all.
Yeah.
And to do it because you and like that's what you enjoy spending your time on,
Mhm.
versus looking pretty or telling and people telling you that they love you.
Yeah. I think,
There's a line, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Dustin Hoffman said as well once, he was just like, I do it because I enjoy it. Even if I was doing community theatre, it's easy for me to say, but even if I was doing it community theatre for the rest of my life, I'll be, because I'm doing what I want to do. And yeah, I might have, you know, a job to pay the bills or whatever, and I might not be living the life that I'm living now, but I'll be doing something that I enjoy. And when I sit in my rocking chair, at least I can be like, do you know what? I did what I wanted to do in my life. And that's the most important thing, I think.
Yeah, and I also think it's like for me, acting had a lot of fear to play in. So when I was in school, I was scared all the time.
Oh.
Like I would I would get the nervous poo. So before scenes, I would have to go to the restroom and poop. And like I was like, what, you know, and people like Michael that I went to school with, chill guy, like, you know, like didn't ever look nervous. And sometimes I would look at him, I'm like, oh my God, he like I'm so nervous all the time. Why doesn't he look nervous? But it was my like walls and blocks that I had to get through
Mhm.
in order, you know. I had to tell fear like put it on the side, like yeah, I'm nervous, but that has nothing to do with me going on stage right
Yeah.
now. So I think that was a big part, like showing myself, okay, like someone who's afraid can also do it.
Absolutely. And I think you might not like this quote, but Strasbourg said,
I'm not a hater, I'm considering taking classes, okay.
me and Michael just have a bit of a rivalry joke around about how, because they're rival schools, aren't they? And even like the guys, because NYU, you can either go Stella Adler, Strasbourg, Grotowski, or Atlantic, which is Mamet School. And then all the Adler, not, we used to just like take the piss out, just as jokes. But yeah, no, Strasbourg said nervousness means we're concerned with ourselves rather than what we should be doing. So if you
Yeah,
put your focus to what you need to be doing, and then it should generally kind of fix that as well. But yeah,
yeah,
well, I think we've just gone over an hour, but it's been an absolute pleasure, Tatiana.
yeah, super cool, super interesting questions, thank
It
you.
has, yeah, it's been really interesting and some really good answers as well, and we got to know you a lot better as well. So yeah, thank you for all your time.
Yeah,
And,
can't wait till this corona thing is over so we can all meet and
I know we should have a. Hannah was saying it as well. And she was just like, we should all meet and do something. I was like, okay, let's do it. So once Corona's over, we'll have like nothing to do with acting or writing. We're just like,
yeah, just hang out. Yeah,
the worst is when you hang out with work people, they talk about work.
yeah, and that's so true. I'm like, so
Yeah,
funny.
no, we definitely should once Corona's over.
Yeah,
But yeah, thank you, Tatiana, and I'll let you go, and I shall see you. I'll see you on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Right, Tatiana. Take
Thank
care.
you. You too. Bye.